thought she's crazy, but then I really liked it, and then I got everything, and I'm totally fascinated, listen to all those workshops, and I feel thrilled by everything. And one thing I think, no, that's different, or it's not, but I maybe would like some clarity. The thing that maybe at the evening I go to bed and I'm thrilled, maybe I listen to stuff of you, or I watched a nice comedy series, and I'm very happy, and I awake in the morning with a bad feeling, and maybe a couple of months ago I didn't. Since I listen to you, I feel much, or really great most of the time. And back then I often didn't feel so good, maybe because of all these stupid questions about and other stuff. But and sometimes I would describe a little bit of not depression, but yeah, and I realized, okay, I didn't feel well in the evening, but I woke up and felt well, so it was over another period where I felt better. So that's I don't understand, because you always said when you sleep you don't attract, or you wake up in the same state as you go. And sometimes it's because I'm happy, and I realize sometimes I'm sitting in front of the TV listening to a great TV comedy, and I'm happy, maybe I fall asleep, wake up 15 minutes later, and have this terrible feeling that I know from earlier times in the morning, of feeling very terrible, or yeah.
When you sleep at night, what happens is your point of attraction stops, so you have a sort of leeway where you're not attracting. When you sleep, it doesn't change your beliefs. A belief is just a thought that you continue to think. So slumber or sleeping doesn't change all those beliefs that you've thought, but slumber does make it less likely for you to wake up thinking that thought, because you've had this buffer time in between where you've slowed the momentum of the thought down. So when you wake up not feeling so good, it's always because your thoughts have turned toward something resistant in nature. While you slumbered, you connected with your source energy. But your source energy doesn't dominate your thoughts, and your source energy doesn't think for you. So when you wake up, without even realizing it maybe, but mostly you realize. Esther started noticing some years ago, because she and Jerry spent a lot of time driving from city to city rather than flying like Esther does now. So she was a lot of time behind the wheel, and she would suddenly realize, sort of like you were describing when you wake up, sort of an uncomfortable feeling. And she would say to herself, what is that about? And usually she could discover the train of thought, because it wasn't far away, that was resistant in nature. So when you wake up in the morning, you usually think something about what you've been thinking before. And because you have newly been connected with your inner being, those thoughts stick out in a stronger way. Your resistance is more noticeable to you after a time of no resistance. So that's the description that we would give you about that. Esther's been playing a game. We've been encouraging it. We're just going to tell you real quick. Satisfaction and unsatisfaction, or dissatisfaction, satisfied, unsatisfied, there's a lot of control right there. Satisfied, angry. If you're angry, there's no control. If you're blameful or guilty, there's no control. If you're satisfied, you can dip into dissatisfaction, but you can get back. There's a lot of control there, because there's not much momentum in those thoughts. And so let's say that you had something that happened with one of your colleagues a day or two ago, and you've been really unsettled about it, and you realize that there had been some thoughts going on that you didn't know, and let's say you even had an argument about it, which really was unsettling to you. And so now, because that argument touched you in so many tender places, you used to really like that person, and now it's harder for you to do. And you used to feel better about yourself, and now that's harder for you to do. And you used to think that you had clarity on a subject, and now that's harder for you to do. And so a bunch of buttons have been pushed, and they're still close enough in proximity time-wise that when you wake up and your mind turns to that, it's interesting. Do you ever try to trace your train of thought? You wake up and you think, okay, I'm going to work. Well, think about what that thought opens up. Work is a pathway into so many potential vibrations, just thinking about it. So if you have not spent some time deliberately feeling satisfied about work, then when you say, well, I'm going to go to work, that can hit you hard and fast, because going to work means so many things to you, you see. We'll talk a lot about this today and tomorrow. We want you to begin to feel the importance of the thoughts that you think. And in order to start deliberately being aware of the thoughts that you think and having any control over them at all, you have to figure out how to catch them before they get much momentum going. Otherwise you have no control. That's why tools like meditation are so helpful, you see. You'll hear so much in these hours that are before us. Enough for now?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so grateful to be here. I have lived my 50 years of life through competition with myself and others.
Life's treating you well then.
It has, but I've done many amazing things.
Yeah.
And now I'm at this point where I want to continue on doing amazing things. And I'm fighting between repeating the striving for
Oh, you don't have to do that. You've asked, and it's in the vortex. Now you just let it in. This is the easy part. Chill out. Next. We said we get you. We didn't say you'd get us.
Oh, I just want to relax and allow.
What we said to you, did it make sense conceptually? Do you accept that you did step 1 and that Source has done step 2, and so your work right now is step 3, and that really is about relaxing? Here's the thing that is tripping you up, trips a lot of people up. You ask, you don't realize that it's answered, and you don't realize that now you've asked, your work is to relax and let it in. So you keep asking. You continue to stay in step 1. Well, step 1 is a different vibration than step 3. Step 1 is utilizing the contrast, acknowledging what you don't want. There's so much resistance in step 1 that you can't let it in. So you got to find some way to get out of step 1. So can you feel the presence of the striving still within her? And so that tension that you feel is your indication of that continual striving, which is continual step 1ing, which is in the way, you see. So that's why we like to explain how it works, so that you know what to do when. Let's say that you've decided that you're going to have a successful skydiving experience, and they've explained to you what you're going to do, but you get the steps all out of order. And so when you're still in the airplane, you pull the ripcord. And then you say, okay, now I'm going to jump. And everyone says, no, don't do it. Don't go yet. In other words, you got the steps out of order. And so what happens with so many of you, you do step 1, we do step 2. Then you do step 1 and we do step 2. And then you do step 1 and we do step 2. And then you do step 1 and we do step 2. And then you do step 1 and we do step 2. And then you do step 1 and we do step 2. And you say, this stuff doesn't work. And we say, at some point, you got to relax with some attitude of faith or trust that the process is working for you. But humans, we love you so much, but you are so prone to striving because somewhere you've come to believe that asking and making it happen, that the striving part is what pays off. Well, it might pay off in a very mundane way, in the sense that you can pick stuff up and move it from place to place while you're step 1ing. You can be hateful and angry, and you can move a lot of stuff around, but you cannot get the contents of your vortex to stream consistently into your life experience if you remain in the striving mode. And you've got that all upside down. You strive so much and you let in just a little bit. So much so that when you relax and let something in, you think it's a fluke. Oh, I had the most uplifting, enlightening moment for a moment. Oh, it was just wonderful. That's the way it's supposed to feel all the time. You should be in a state of satisfaction the majority of the time, and sometimes speculating a little bit. Step 1 is a good step unless you're striving. When you ask with expectation, that's asking and allowing at the same time. That is so delicious. But when you ask while you doubt, when you ask while you fear, When you ask while you're mad, when you ask when you're guilty or blameful, then you just put tension into the equation, you see. So we're appreciating your opening remarks, and it is our expectation that as we move forward that you'll find some ways of relaxing a little bit in all of this.
Thank you so much.
You want to talk about something specific, and we'll give it 2 minutes?
I would like to talk about my healing abilities, and I guess that's just allowing to.
When you have healing abilities, and everyone does, but when you are exercising your healing abilities, it means you're in step 3. You're not striving, you're letting it in. The fact that you know how to do that, it's interesting. We hear from a lot of teachers and healers like you. I'm really good when I'm talking to other people about what's going on with them. Just not so good when I talk about the stuff that I've been pushing against my whole life. So a question that we want to put to you, think about it a little bit, don't work hard on it, is why is it easier for me to give somebody else the benefit of the doubt than it is myself? Why is it easier for me to expect good things to come to somebody else than it is myself? The answer is simple. It's just that you've been walking around with yourself thinking resistant thoughts about yourself and through yourself. You think all the time. Esther came out of the hair salon the other day, and while her car was in the parking lot at the garage, someone bumped it a little bit and bent the license plate frame and damaged the grill a little bit. So she had taken it in for repair, and now it's in the parking lot and it's all bright and shiny and new again. So she's walking out to the parking lot and she says, well, hello, Cadillac. Do you like your new nose and your new grill? And then she began to laugh and she said to herself, I'm talking to an inanimate object and I think it's answering me. And then she thought, I talk to inanimate objects and I talk to non-physicals, and we say you're all projecting all the time. And the projection, it's not who you're talking to or even the sanity of your thoughts. In other words, this was just Esther's playful way of acknowledging how happy she was that the license plate frame was back to